Hi, Tubelo, do you hear me? Morning, Tubelo, did you hear me?
Hello guys, can you hear me now? If you do, please let me know.
Yes, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yes, definitely I can hear you.
100%. So it's sorted. I'm just going to, at 10 o'clock, I will just go live and tell you we are live.
All right.
100%.
100%, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our lesson, the third lesson of the week. Thank you so much for coming back. I'm so happy that you are back. I'm so happy that we'll be able to tackle this content together, and I can't wait for you guys to get to know everything. My name is Miss Tabo, or you can call me Mem Tabo. Tibello Tabo, guys. And nice to meet you. I see a lot of familiar names here. Thank you guys so much for coming back. So today's lesson is about today's lesson is about vertical opposite angles, guys. So the objectives of the lesson for today is objective number one. Objective number one is know and understand intersecting lines, in brackets, vertically opposite angles. So vertically opposite angles is a synonym of intersecting lines. It's more or less the same thing, guys. So the second objective is construct different pairs of line segment that intersect. So this is basically constructing your own vertically opposite angles, right? So in this case, point number two, you'll be able to construct your own vertical angles. You'll be able to do them yourself. And it's very easy. It's more or less, it's similar to the ones we were doing, which was straight lines and perpendicular lines, because we are still on that topic. So the last objective of today is calculate the size of the unknown angles. We all know about calculating the sizes of the unknown angles, right? Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. The next slide is basically explaining what intersecting lines, which is vertical opposite angles, are. So the first point is four angles are formed when two lines or line segments intersect. So basically when they intersect, when they are crossing each other, like when they are crossing each other and they make a break-even point. So you know a break-even point, guys. So when the two lines intersect, they form four angles, and yeah, that's our vertically opposite angle. And the second point is opposite angles are congruent, which is equal. Congruent basically means equal. It means that opposite angles are the same. They are equal, their degree are the same, their numbers are the same, the measurements are the same. That's what we call them congruent. Okay, opposite angles have the same degrees. That's what I just said now. Those opposite angles have the same degree, but I will show you, I will draw it again with you guys, and you'll get the full picture about everything. And the last point is the measurements of the angle will equal to 360 degrees when added all together. You will see when I'm drawing my vertically opposite angles that when we add all the measurements of the angles, it will be equal to 360 degrees because it will form a full cycle. The last time when we did a perpendicular line, it formed a right angle. This time it will form a full cycle. Okay, so before we go to our activity, let's draw our vertically opposite angle. Guys, how many of you did practice doing or constructing your own vertical opposite angles? Because yesterday I told you guys to do something like that. How many of you guys, you can just raise your hand or just say yes. That will be a great response. Thank you so much, Kihara. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a positive response. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lesedi. And everyone else. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, everyone. So let's construct our vertically opposite angle. Okay. Sorry guys. For the boxes. I hope you can see properly. Yes, you can see properly. So let's start constructing our own vertical opposite angles. So we'll start with our vertical line. You will need your protractor anyway, guys. If you don't have your protractor with you, can you please put your mind here? It's fine. Just concentrate so that we can finish on time. Okay, so let's do our vertical line first. So this is our vertical line. It must be 180 degrees. So from this point to this point, this is our vertical line. So we must construct our vertical opposite angles, and those angles, the opposite must be equal. So we'll start by, okay, I'm putting this line here at 30. You see here, this is 30 degrees, and I will have my point here, and then even here. Now guys, for those who are just joining us, we are constructing a vertically opposite angle, right? Okay, and then we'll go back to our vertical line, and then we'll have another point here on 90 degrees. Can we see this 90 degrees? We'll have our point again here. Now we must make two lines that will form vertically opposite angles, and those two lines will form 4 angles. And then our lines will intersect. So from this point to this point. So they must cross this point here. They must cross this point. There we go. So now we have our vertically opposite angles. So let's measure these angles. This angle and this angle must be the same, and this one and this one must be the same. So let's measure them to see if they are the same. So this one is 30 degrees. So let's measure this one again. Let's use this side. Yes, and this one is also 30 degrees. You can see here. This one is also 30 degrees. So again, guys, let's measure these two remaining sides, these two angles, because this one must be the same, and also the opposite two angles must be the same. So this gives us 150. And obviously this one is the same. So these are our vertically opposite angles. Guys, will you be able to construct your own vertical opposite angles? If you can, please just say yes there by the chats so that I can get a clear picture. Thank you so much, Naidu. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, so to verify that what you created is correct, what you constructed is correct, you must verify your answer, and your answer must give you 360 degrees. Reason being, because this basically forms a full cycle. Can you see that? It basically forms a full cycle. So let's add and see if it does give us our 360 degrees. So we'll have our 150 degrees plus 150, no, sorry about that, guys, plus 330 degrees plus 30 degrees. So our final answer is So our final answer is 360 degrees. So it means that our vertically opposite angle is correct. Ne? I hope we are all getting it, and we can name this A, B, C, and D. So can I please ask this just one question before we move on? How many angles do we have on this vertically opposite angles? Yes, we have 4 angles, which is this one. We can say this is one is the first one, the second one, the third one, and the fourth one, right? Yes, good. Can we create another one? But then, okay, let's move on to the question. You can get a clear picture. Ne? Okay, guys, let's say that they didn't give you this 30 and you must calculate what is the measurements for angle number 2. Let's say they didn't give you this 30 here and you must calculate the measurements for number 2. So this is how you will make your equation. This number 2, let's just name it y, and they say find the value for y. So they say just find the value for y. So let's make the equation, right? So when we make our equation, we'll say 150 degrees plus 150 degrees plus 30 degrees plus y equals to 360 degrees, because this is it forms a full cycle which results to 360 degrees. So we'll have our y equals to 360 degrees minus 150 degrees minus 150 minus 30 degrees. And our y will be 30. Guys, are you getting it right? Does it make sense? Can you see it? Yes, 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 yes. Yes. Yeah, I'm so glad that we are getting the hang of it. Okay, so let's move on to our class activity for today. So our class activity for today, it's let's read it together. So they say class activity, exercise 2, point number 1. Calculate the size of the unknown angles in each figure and give a reason for your answer. So when number A, they say ED, line segment. Line segment, we said that line segment, it's the line that intersects. So the line segment is E and D, and that's basically our straight line. And you know that our straight line equals to 180 degrees, right? Because can you see that the other line is not straight? It's definitely not straight. The only straight line we have is E and D. Can you see that? So we need to calculate the unknown figure for angle 4 and 1. We can see that the other line is not straight. The only line that's straight is E and D. So it means that we have 180 and 180 on the other side. Can you see that? So we must calculate the angles for 1 and 4. So can you please calculate angle number 1. Let me just give you 2 minutes. Don't forget that E to D equals to 180 degrees. Can you please calculate it before we go to our solution? I'm giving you guys 2 minutes to please calculate angle number 1, B1, because B2 is already calculated and the line segment equals to 180 degrees. E to D is our straight line. Treat it as your straight line, which is 180 degrees, and calculate the angle for B1. Okay, guys, let's move on to our corrections. So moving on to our corrections, I won't show you the rest of the answers. So I asked you guys to calculate B1, which is this one. So B1, we had 110 degrees. So this is the equation for calculating B1. Today, I didn't want to write the answers because some of you guys were not able to see. So the answer for B1 is 110 degrees plus B1 angle equals to 180, because that line segment E to D represents 180. So we'll have our B1 equals to 180 degrees minus 110 degrees, and our B1 angle equals to 70 degrees. Did most of you guys get it right? Are you getting it? Are you understanding it? Okay, guys. So let me explain this again. Do you see this number A, right? So number A, they say ED is a line segment. So what is a line segment? Is from D to E, and from D to E equals to 180 degrees. And above D and E, it must be 180 degrees, and below DE must be 180 degrees. But I asked you guys to calculate angle B1, and B1 is unknown. And we only have our 110 on the other side. So what is remaining? The only thing remaining is 70 degrees for B1, which we calculated. So let's now calculate our B4 degree. So when we calculate our B4 degree, we already have our 85 degree plus B4 equals to 180 degrees. And then when you calculate it, you will say 180 degrees minus 85 degrees. And you will have your answer, which is 95 degrees. That's our answer for B4 degrees. These angles here are not congruent. They are not equal. You can see that the only straight line that we have is D and E. And the other line is definitely not straight. Can you see that? It's not straight. That's why we are using D to E as our straight line. Okay. So guys, can you please do the second one? Because I think now we are getting it. So number B, it's saying that line E and D is line its segment. So it means that from D to E, it's 180 degrees. It's not 360 degrees. It's 180 degrees because it is our straight line. Can you see that? And the other line are not straight. So above DE is 180 degrees and below DE is 180 degrees. So can you please calculate angle value for B1? Because the only remaining figures here that are unknown is number 1 and 4. So can you please calculate number 1 for me? Number 1. Angle number B1. Okay, guys. So angle number B1 is 61. Okay, guys, let me just do it with you guys so that you can get a more clear picture. Let me write it here, even though some of you won't be able to see, but I did type it for you guys. You'll be able to see it even after this lesson. Okay, let me stop sharing and let me show you here. Guys, okay, so this is our equation for the B1. This is the same angle, by the way, ne? This is the same angle, the same number B. This is number B. You saw the question, right? And we had 119 on the other side, and on the other side, we had 94. So in this case, we are focusing on two sides because the angles are not congruent. They are not the same. You saw there that the lines were not straight. So this is how we work it out if the lines are not straight, because you don't know the value of the other angle because they are not congruent. They are not the same like our vertical angles. So on our vertical angles, we had, if there's 30 this side, then obviously there's 30 this side. And if there's 150 this side, then obviously there is 150 this side. But in this case, this angle, it was something like this. Okay. It was something like this, right? It was something like this. This line is not straight. The only line that was straight was this one. So in this case, this is our straight line and equals to 180 degrees. So we must work out this side first, and then we will work out this side second, or maybe you can do them the other way around. But this is how you do it if the lines are not like this, if they are not vertically opposite. Guys. Okay, so let's calculate the value for angle B1. So we'll have our B1 equals to 180 degrees minus 119 degrees, and then our B1 angle will be 61 degrees. Are we getting it now, guys? Is it much easier this way? Please comment yes, so I can get a clear picture please. Okay, guys, that's good. So let's do the second one. Let's do the second one. So when we do the second one, we have 94 degrees from the question there. There was 94 degrees plus B4 angle. This is an angle, an unknown angle, this B4 equals to 180 degrees. So in this case, we'll have our B4 equals to 180 degrees. You know that a positive sign, when it moves the side, it becomes a subtraction or a minus. So we'll have 94 minus 180 degrees minus 94 degrees, and then our B4 angle equals to equals to 86 degrees. And there you are with your full marks. You see, I hope this is making much sense now. Yes, I do. It's 86 degrees. Okay, let's go back to our class activity. So we finished we finished number A and we did number B. So let's check our corrections. Here are your corrections, guys. Ne? And the reason, they want you to state the reason for your answers. So in this case, number A, our reason for our answer is, since line segment or straight line, which is DE, equals to 180 degrees, then angle B4 equals to 95 degrees. And then our second one is, since line segment or straight line DE equals to 180 degrees, then our angle B1 equals to 25 degrees. And then let's move on to number B. Number B is, since line segment stroke straight line equals to 180 degrees, then our angle B4 equals to 86 degrees. I think that makes sense. So let's move on to the other activity. So here we have this other question here. So in this question, we see that here we have two straight lines. The other line is not anyhow, they are both straight, and it means that the opposite sides are equal in this case. So it means that 70 on the side, and then there must be 70 on the other side. Can you see that? Okay, so let's calculate this one together. Or can you calculate it and then you tell me the answers and then I can make the corrections after? So can you please calculate the value of y before I make our corrections? Can you please, I'm giving you guys at least 2 minutes to calculate the value of y before we can do it together to get a clear picture of everything. The value of y for the next 2 minutes, and then we'll do it together, and then I'll also show you the corrections that I typed. Guys, and don't forget, these two straight lines both represent 180 degrees. So above the straight line, it must be 180 degrees, and below the straight line, it must be 180 degrees. And when you add them together, it gives you 360 degrees, which makes it a full cycle. But anyway, let's calculate the value for y. Okay, guys, 1 minute remaining before we can proceed. Just calculate the value for y, not for r, just number 5, and then we can make the corrections. Yes, guys, you must make your equation first before you can calculate. Write your equation first before you can calculate. This one is a bit tricky, but it's not difficult. It's just a bit tricky, but it's not difficult. You'll see when we make our corrections. Okay, guys, the time is up. So let's move on to our corrections. So this is our corrections for number 5. So our equation is supposed to be 102 degrees minus 2y equals to 78 degrees. Why 78 degrees? Because they are vertically opposite. They are the same. Those lines are straight. Those lines are straight lines. So the opposite sides are the same. Okay, so it means that 102 is positive. Can you see on the second line there? 102 is positive and 2y is negative, because on the other side, there's no negative sign. On the 102 side, there's no negative sign. So it means that it is positive. That's why there's no negative sign. And then what we will do is that since 102 is positive, we'll move it on the other side, and then it will be a subtraction, and then we'll have our 78 degrees on step 2 there minus 102. Are we all together? So we'll have negative 2y equals to 78 degrees minus 102 degrees. And then our next step again, we'll have our negative 2 divide by negative 2 equals to negative 24, because when we say 78 minus 102, it gives us negative 24, and we will divide it by negative 2, and our answer will be 12. So to verify if our answers are correct, you need to add 12. You need to say 102 minus 12. It must give you 78. If it doesn't give you 78, then the answer is not correct. It's basically 12 multiply by 2, and then there's 24, and then we'll say 102 minus 24 equals to 78. Okay, guys, let's do this. Let me do it here for you. So we had our 102 minus 2y. Can you able to see it? Okay, let's do it together here. It's 102 minus 2y equals to 78 degrees. I think it's much better when we do it together like this. Ne? So I said that basically here it's positive. It's not negative. Negative is for this 2y, right? Equals to 78 degrees. So we'll have our negative 2y equals to 78 degrees minus 102 degrees. So we'll move this on the side, and then that's when we'll have 102 degrees, right? So we'll have our negative 2y equals to negative 24, right? And then we'll divide both sides by negative 2. And then we'll have our negative 2, and then our y will be 12. Because when we say negative 24 divide by negative 2 equals to 12, what do you get there? Do you get a positive 12 or a negative 12? I'm not done, guys. Do you get a negative 12 or do you get a positive 12? Can you please say there in the comments if you get a positive 12 or a negative 12 in your calculator? You can just press negative 24. Here is the negative 2. Here is it. Yes, it's positive. Thank you so much. So since it's positive, they said that it's 2y. It's 2y. So it means that this 12 is y. This 12 represents y. And then when we'll still have our 2, which is 2 multiplied by 12, and it gives us what? It gives us 24. Ne? Since it gives us 24, we'll say 24, 102 minus 24 equals to 78 degrees. Then that's when you will know that you are correct, because you have 78 on the side, and then you'll also have your 78 on the side. Does it all make sense now? This 2, we're getting it from here. This 2, and then when we multiply it by y, which is this y, now we know that this y equals to 12. And we still have this 2, and then we'll multiply it by 12, and then we'll have our 24. And then when we do say 102 minus 24, we'll get our 78. Okay, let's move on to the next question. I think, guys, it's better when we write them down, when we do it together. But anyway, I still have, you can still access the slides. I typed the corrections for you guys. Thank you, Lisedi. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Let's move on to number 6. So number 6 say calculate the value for R. So basically it means that the opposite angles are equal. So can you please calculate the value for R in the next 20 minutes, and then we'll also do it together. Please tell me what you get to show that indeed you do understand. Guys, when you are done calculating R, can you please just type your answer in the chat? Okay, 1 minute remaining before you can comment your answers. Okay, 54, Kelvin. Let's see what others got. Okay, 54, all right. All right. Okay, so yes, guys, ne? R equals to 18. And then when we say 18 multiplied by 3, that's when we get our 54. Do you understand? 18 multiplied by R is 54. So in this case, we were only trying to find the value for R, but then it's still correct. 54 is definitely correct. Then we'll say 3 multiplied by 18 equals to 54. And then when we subtract, that's when we'll get our correct answer. Okay, let's do it together here. You saw here number 6, calculate the value for R. And then we are simplifying it. And then after simplifying it, we'll have our positive 180 minus 3R equals to 26. And then we'll have our 26 minus 180. And then we'll divide both sides by -3. And then our R will be 18. So since our R will be 18, let's do it together here. Then our R is 18, right? So our R equals to 18. And then we'll say 3 multiplied by 18 equals to 54. 54 degrees, which is definitely correct, guys. So to verify our answer, we will say 180 degrees minus 126 because they must be equal. You remember, right? The vertically opposite angles must be congruent. They must be the same. And then our answer will be it will still give us 54. And then we'll have 180 minus 120. 180 minus 54 degrees. And then we'll have our 126. Correct. 126 degrees. Guys, do you understand how we got our 54 and everything? Just say there in the comments, or you can take a screenshot of this before we can move on to our homework activity. Thank you so much. Kihara, let me show you where we get our 3 from. We had, you remember Kihara, we had 180 degrees minus 3R. This is where we got our 3 from. You understand? You remember it was 180 minus 3R, and then when we calculated our R, that's when it gave us 18. And then this 3, that's when we did this to it, and then we had our 54. Kihara, does it make sense now? Okay. Okay, guys, thank you so much. You guys are always the best. And I'm glad, guys, please keep on saying your response if you don't understand. I like it when you guys say you don't understand because it gives us a chance to do it together and calculate it together. And I think it's much easier when I do it here on the paper, right? Okay, so our home activity for today, number 1.1, you will construct your own vertical opposite angles using your protractor. Now guys, with your own measurements, please don't forget to do your home activity. And then number 2, you will calculate the unknown angles And then the home activity ends right here. And then don't forget to visit this website so that you can get more information regarding maths questions and other maths materials, guys. And for our next lesson, we'll be doing parallel lines cut by transversals. You can check your textbooks before you can join us tomorrow, 10 o'clock. Don't forget, check your textbooks after doing your home activity so that tomorrow we can do it together. We'll do it together most definitely, but just have a background and a bit of knowledge about parallel lines cut by transversals. Ne? Okay, I will go back to the home activity, Tom. And don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms, please. And don't forget to tell your friends to register. Okay, here's our home activity. Here's the questions. Bye-bye, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. It was lovely as always, and I'm glad you guys understood. Okay, Kihara, can you please type your question in the chats there, Kahara? Bye, Vui.